No? None of you that old? Great. Okay, welcome to Cutthroat Kitchen. So we're going to have 3 teams. The first team will be the first 4 rows here, which would be 6, 7, 8, and 9. So raise your hand if you're in team 1. Yep, in the tie, you're in team 1. You got a hand? There you go. Okay, so then the next 4, you guys are team 2. Can I get a hand raised from team 2? Close, I got some of you were wrong. And then the last 3 rows here, so 14, 15, 16, and the handicap section up here. All right, we good? Okay, so I need 1 volunteer from each team. Can I get a volunteer? So team 1, can I get a volunteer? Somebody raise a hand. All right, this guy right here volunteered someone else, so come on up. Here in the middle, I need a volunteer. All right, come on down. You are the next contestant. Come on down. All right. Team 3, need a volunteer? Need a volunteer? I will randomly select one of you if no one volunteers. All right, drinking the iced coffee there. Come on up. All right, so team 1 staying at the first plate here. Team 2, team 3. You're team 3, right over here, right here. There you go. Okay, I'm at the end of my leash here. So team 1, can you introduce yourself?
Daniel.
Daniel. All right, section 1, can I get a cheer for Daniel?
No.
This is your teammate? All right. Section 2, what's your name? Charia. Section 2, you give a cheer for Charia? Excellent. And? Sarah. Section 3? All right, excellent. There we go. Well, we know who won the popularity contest. Okay, so if you're not aware, Cutthroat Kitchen is a game show on the Food Network consisting of 3 rounds of culinary competition in which you must create a dish in a short amount of time to be judged. And so today's challenge will be to create a peanut butter and banana sandwich. But in Cutthroat Kitchen, you always have to have some kind of a sabotage to make it more difficult. So today's sabotages will be handed out in order based on the team who yells loudest. So I think team 3 yelled loudest. So Sarah, you will get the Sensory Deprivator 5000, and she will not be able to see anything that she is doing. I believe team 1 was the second loudest. You'll be given the nice glove here, which means you cannot use this hand. So he'll have to do his sandwich one-handed. And team 3 doesn't get a knife. Sorry, team 2 in the middle. So your challenge to create a peanut butter and banana sandwich begins now. Yeah, please. It's fine. There we go. Yeah, right there. I'll click him before I go. Don't worry about it. Yep. Are you serving that sandwich to someone that you're making with your hand? You're done? Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure about those knife cuts on that banana.
I can't see.
Okay, wonderful job. Give your teammate a round of applause. Thank you. All right, so for the judging, Sarah, do you want to present me your sandwich?
Well, here you have a delicious peanut butter and banana sandwich. You got peanut butter on both sides and bananas in the middle.
Nicely done, nicely done. And Charya?
So you have a peanut butter and banana sandwich with different sizes of banana for each bite and some globs of peanut butter in the middle.
Okay. All right, good.
We have a culinary masterpiece here with a very small amount of peanut butter. There's a whole banana on each side and some smushed bread just to top off the presentation.
Beautiful. Well, just based on appearance, I guess I have to go with Charya's, so we'll name her the winner. Excellent job. Okay, you guys can head back and you can take your sandwich if you'd like. And if you want a napkin, there's a paper towel. So you guys did a much better job than last semester of not making a huge mess. There was stuff everywhere last time. All right, great job. So, sorry, I had a bit of a video to introduce this, and it's not working on this computer. But so I'm going to talk about this competition a little bit. So as you watched your contestant take part in the project, what emotions did you notice them feeling as they were making the sandwich? Frustration? Absolutely. Anything else? Hunger? Apparently not. None of them ate their sandwiches. You made the sandwich? You wouldn't even eat your own sandwich? Anybody else? Right, so those are some good examples. What about maybe like laughing at themselves a little bit? Felt a little bit silly. Any of them, did any of them look energized because they're like an outgoing person, like being out in front of an audience? You guys didn't nominate yourselves necessarily, all of you, so maybe didn't enjoy that. So just want to talk today a little bit about empathy, and we touched on this a little bit last week, but really want to dig in a little bit deeper to this concept of empathy and what it is we're talking about. So as you watched that person, most of you felt no empathy for them whatsoever, right? You were just laughing at them because they were struggling and it was funny. Being up in front of an audience trying to do something in a really awkward way, right? So all of these restrictions made it really difficult to make a sandwich that would be very simple to do without the restriction, right? So peanut butter and jelly isn't exactly the pinnacle of culinary masterpiece, despite the description of the last sandwich there. It's really critical that you start thinking about the user and your product. So all of you are working on some kind of a project that is going to be used by a person, right? And the more you can connect with them on an emotional level, the better job you'll do at designing for them. And so this is something we call empathy, is being able to feel what that other person feels, okay? So there's two basic kind of forms of empathy. The first is called mirroring. So you see them frown and you frown, right? And this is a really shallow level emotion that people generally will feel. So when you're around someone who's sad, you might feel sad even though nothing has happened to you. You didn't have the experience that they had that made them feel sad, but you felt sad anyway. And that's just a basic mirroring. So you're not actually like feeling like you're living their experience. You're just seeing that they're sad and you feel sad, right? But there's a deeper level of empathy, which is what we want to drive toward in product design, where you can put yourself in their shoes. And even though you didn't have their experiences, you can walk right there along with them and see what it was like to be that person. And that may seem like kind of an odd concept, and why that's important in technical design can be hard to see at first. But I'll tell you a little bit of a story that might kind of make this clear. So there was an engineer at GE Healthcare who led a team to design a new MRI machine. Okay, so they had worked for like 3 years to design the most state-of-the-art MRI on the market. It was this big, beautiful, they'd won design awards for it, MRI, and it took really crisp images. They were very proud of their accomplishment. And this engineer went into a hospital, and he was standing in the x-ray room looking at the machine, talking with the technician. And the technician said, can you come out in the hallway for a minute? And so he goes out in the hallway with her, and he thinks that he's there and that she's going to be patting him on the back and be like, this new machine is great. And he really kind of led into that thinking. And a family's coming down the hallway to go into the room to have an MRI. And a dad's walking his young daughter along, right? And the daughter is kind of hunched over, looks frail, and she's crying. And he's saying, come on, we can get through this, as he's leading her down to the MRI. And the nurse says, okay, we need to call an anesthesiologist to get this girl sedated so that she'll sit still for her MRI. And the engineer was just astounded, right? So he thought that he had made the best machine ever, and there's this little girl coming down the hallway, completely petrified of what he was so proud of, right? And so technically speaking, he did everything right. The machine worked beautifully. From a medical perspective, it worked very well. But you had this poor outcome that they said in that hospital, up to 80% of kids that had to have an MRI were being sedated to use that machine. And it completely took a 180-degree viewpoint on his device, right? So even though it had won awards and was very technically amazing machine, he had a little girl crying because she had to use it. And it took him back and he said, we never thought about the user experience, what it was like to get inside this machine. We were just thinking about how to make it work technically. And a lot of you and I think like that, right? So especially those of you who are engineers tend to think like this a lot. So how's this going to work? What are the technical details? And we forget about the person behind it. So he went back to GE and he said, we've got to do something about this. And they put together a group to look at how to improve this experience. And they went to kindergartens and elementary schools and just observed children, saw how they acted, what did they interact with that they thought was exciting and fun, and what were they afraid of. And they went back and looked at the experience of their MRI machine and said, what are the points that cause fear and how can we get around this? And they went and really interviewed families and built up a lot of knowledge on the human level so they could really put themselves in the shoes of that kid and that kid's parents and all the things that they went through as that dad's leading his daughter down the hallway, right? What they came up with was really brilliant, and it's a set of wraps for all the MRI machines, and they would actually do up the entire MRI room in a theme. So it would be a campground, and the MRI would be set up to look like the bed to look like a sleeping bag, or it was a pirate ship, or some kind of a design that immersed everything that was scary, took all of it out and immersed the kid in this environment. And in fact, in the hospitals, the x-ray technicians and the nurses would put on a pirate outfit as their scrubs, or a camp counselor outfit, and they'd give the kid a backpack or a pirate hat before they came in so they could build excitement. And the kids would actually run and jump in, and that rate of sedation went from 80% down to almost 0. Okay, so this is a really great example of the power of having empathy for your user and really understanding not just the technical details, but the people behind them, right? So there are very few industries where you are designing for some inanimate object. Most of the time you will be designing for a person. And in all of your EPICS projects, you're designing for some end user. So these are important things to understand and to keep in mind. There are really 3 ways that you can get to empathy, or common ways. And the first one is through observation. So as you guys were all watching your partners here making the sandwich, you observed them looking kind of silly for the most part, like where's the peanut butter, and staggering around, or trying to apply peanut butter and break a banana with your bare hands. So last year we had a pretty smart kid that used the banana as a scoop for the peanut butter, which was pretty interesting. But then he really struggled to break the banana up, so did a better job there. But observing people in their natural environment of whatever they're doing, right? So if you're going to work with children for an MRI machine, going into that hospital and seeing the kids coming in, understanding what they're feeling, right? And sitting down with their parents, seeing what they're doing. So the next one would be to engage. And so this might come in the form of an interview, but it really doesn't have to be that defined. But it's just going and talking with someone. So if you're going to design, sit down with those parents, talk to a kindergarten teacher, right? Get in the minds of the people using your project so that you can walk in their shoes and help to understand what they're going through and what they need. So one of the biggest things that will really give you insight in a project is the difference between what people say happens and what you observe happen. So the difference between what you get from that observation and engaging. So they might tell you, if you asked your teammates, that this was really easy and it wasn't a big deal, and I just thought it was silly. But as you watched them, maybe you saw that they looked frustrated, right? So maybe there was really more to it. Because we have all of these social and emotional interactions behind the behavior that we display. But what you see when you observe people or you see things is the resultant behavior, right? So a great example of that would be when you see people going through an airport, right? So people display all kinds of crazy behavior in an airport. And what they're technically doing, if you broke it down, like I'm driving to the airport, I'm parking my car, I'm getting on a trolley that takes me in, I get my ticket, I go sit in line, and I get on the airplane. That doesn't seem like a complicated task, but it's the emotions behind all of that, the stress level that you have as you're worried about, am I gonna get there on time, am I gonna miss my plane? The stress that you have from leaving behind your family, or people you have, or the excitement you have because you're wanting to get somewhere or get back from somewhere and you're tired. It's really all of those human emotions behind those behaviors that lead to the crazy things people do in the airport, right? Running like a maniac or being really stressed and yelling at some stranger because they bumped into you as you walked through, right? It didn't really have anything to do with what they were doing. It was how they were feeling why they did that. So if you were going through to design an airport terminal and you were trying to reduce these things, or a procedure if you worked for an airline on how do we get bags on the plane, how do we get people through the airport, you can learn a lot more from trying to understand why people were doing things than what they were doing, right? Is that clear to everybody? And then the last one, and the best one, is to immerse yourself. So we have one team here in EPICS that does a really fantastic job of this, and it's the Camp Riley team. So they work with a camp in southern Indiana for children with disabilities, and they go down there every summer for a week and live in the camp with the campers, right? So they are living the lifestyle of the camper that they are working with. And that's a great way to immerse yourself in what you're doing. But I know there's a team of you that's working with senior citizens, and none of you have lived the life of a senior citizen. You have none of their experiences. How do you design for them? How do you understand what they go through? So you can go and you can observe them. So you could go to a retirement village and watch what they do. You could go and interview them, talk to them, engage with them. But actually going there and being there and trying to live that lifestyle side by side with them would give you insights you would never get any other way, okay? So I know those of you in the School for the Blind team have seen this, right? So every semester, I take kids down to that team, young adults down to that team, down to the school. And the first 2 weeks or a week of the semester, we don't get much done because people don't really understand the community partner. They're not very energetic, they're not very engaged because there's no empathy, right? It's this theoretical kid with a visual impairment far away, and it's not real. And then when you go and you sit down with them at their school, in their classroom, and you see how they study and you talk to them and you meet them and engage with them on a human level, that team every semester comes back with 10 times more energy after having met with those kids and been able to immerse themselves in that environment and really observe them and build that empathy, okay? So it really is a critical part of everything that we do. So I want to do a couple of activities that we can do in small groups, and they're really similar. But the point is to kind of take that observation or interview or immersion activity and start to unpack it. Get all of those things that you saw and learned out, and try and understand. This is what I saw, and this is what I think happened. So the first one we're going to do is what, how, and why. So you can get in small groups, 2 or 3. You can stay within your teams if you want to, since you kind of observed the same person for the most part. But first thing I want you to talk about is what was the person doing, right? So specifically, what were they doing? So they went to get their supplies, they put the bread down, they attempted to apply peanut butter with whatever technique they had. They attempted to break up a banana and put it on there. So what were those things? Go through the steps, and then how are they doing it, okay? So this isn't like they were doing it with a knife. It's like they did it quickly. They did it kind of awkwardly. They seemed frustrated. They seemed upset. They seemed like they were excited or laughing or relieved that they finally got it done, right? So those kind of emotional level, how? And then the last one is why. So this is trying to make the leap from what you actually saw, right? You saw specific behavior, but you don't know the underlying emotional reasons why. Try and make that leap, okay? So this is an inference. You're getting outside of the observable space. You're trying to make an educated guess. And this is really what most really good design is based upon. It's getting past just what everyone can see and getting to those aha moments where it's like, maybe this means that it's, if we're talking about the airline, right? Maybe this means that it's really the financial stress of having missed an airplane and having to reticket, or the time stress, right? Maybe it's something outside of what I'm observing. Make that leap, right? So they seemed frustrated doing this. Maybe there was some exterior thing, right? Or if they seem like they're really laughing about it, maybe they're a really extroverted person and they love the attention, right? So think about those kind of external things that you didn't witness and how that goes along with what they did and how they did it. So I'll give you just a few minutes to do that in small groups. So go ahead. All right, did everybody get a chance to get at least one set of these? All right. Hey, settle down. Does anybody have a good one they want to share? No? Okay, great. Wonderful. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next one. So this is a very similar activity, and you'll use mostly the same information. So this should take a little bit less time, but this is called do, say, think, feel. So you're going to take out a piece of paper if you have one, and just put a quadrant. And what you want to do is try and connect right down in the top left the things that they said. So as they talked about the things they did, and the bottom left things that you actually witnessed them do, and then connect those on the right-hand side. What do you think that they were thinking why they did that, and what do you think they were feeling? So just getting the abstraction from what you can see and hear to what you think may have been going on inside, both from a thought and emotional perspective. So I'll just give you a couple of minutes for this one. So you can stay with your same groups and go ahead with that. Well, I'm going to hit her. Let me take my choke collar off and I'll come. Well, I would, but there's people in front of you. Huh?
You should make Charia eat her sandwich.
Do one of you guys want her sandwich? Otherwise, it's getting thrown away.
She put her hands all over that sandwich.
Yeah, she did. I can't make someone eat anything.
I would eat it. You don't want that.
I didn't want one of you to eat the sandwich and then sue me because they had dirty hands or something. That's a good-looking quadrant you guys get there.
Thank you. We're working on it.
Yeah.
We're really thinking about it.
So usually I like walk around during these things, but in these rooms you have to wear the leash and you can't get away. It is. It's really annoying. Whiteboard in here. Nice. Just put it on. Tell me how to pin it. You guys get something? Did this make sense? Did you kind of